by more than 5%. My political power panel with me now, conservative commentator Gina and Democratic strategist Basil Smikle. Thank you both for being here. So we just showed the poll on the screen. We're going to put it back so our viewers can follow. But do you think that Hillary Clinton's camp is becoming too confident? We have her at 47%, as our viewers can see on the screen, to Donald Trump's 41.5%. Gina.
Oh, I absolutely do. I think maybe Hillary should be looking at different shades of orange that might behoove her rather than measuring for drapes at this point, because this is the social media generation, Deirdre, and these decisions aren't going to be made by most voters until much closer to the election, with almost 80 days remaining. I think it's downright arrogant and pretentious of her to even suggest such a thing.
Basil, I am assuming you disagree, but in any case, there's still a lot of time to go before November, and if this year has proven anything, lots of surprises are possible.
Well, listen, I've been saying it all along. Every candidate would get a bump after their convention, and as we get into September and closer to the election, the polls will start to close a little bit. I've been saying that for weeks, and any political consultant worth their weight would tell you the same thing. So I don't think any of us are in sort of the political chatter class are being presumptuous. I don't think the campaign is being presumptuous as well. I mean, I talk to, because of the position that I have in the Democratic Party here in New York, I talk to the campaign regularly. I know my colleagues around the country. We are in regular conversation with them. Everybody's working really hard. Nobody's resting on their haunches here.
What about Donald Trump coming off a stronger week, Gina? What do you think this means as we go towards November? A lot of people talking about a pivot.
Right. Well, I think that there has definitely been a presidential-looking Trump, especially over the last couple of weeks. His speeches have sounded presidential. His, of course, visiting the flood tragedy looked very presidential to the American people. And just the way that he has taken on a tone of real reverence to the system, to the way that things are looking in this country right now, the way that he's being more deliberative, certainly the people that he's surrounding himself with as he starts to look at what his campaign needs to win in these numbered days that we have at this point. So I think things are looking very good for Mr. Trump, and I think that Hillary's scandals are going to plague her tremendously, especially once Donald Trump.
As we always agree, they are both flawed candidates.
Well,
but Basil,
I will say this: in this particular instance, I could not disagree more. Let me tell you two examples of where he's been so non-presidential. One, where his immigration policy is, quote, TBD. And two, his outreach to African Americans is, what do you have to lose? When you're 77, 78 days out, that's not policy. That's not being presidential. That, to me, is actually rather insulting, certainly condescending to communities across this country. That said,
I disagree.
I could tell you.
I want to hear you out, Gina.
Yeah, I completely disagree with that. I think it's a very good question to ask of these minority communities that Donald Trump has reached out to, extended a hand to, and he's saying the words, what do you have to lose?
When?
The Democrat policies of the last 8 years.
Where and when has he reached out?
Minorities have put all ethnic minorities in a worse position, not a better position.
I would absolutely disagree with that.
All you have to do is look at our doubled debt. All you have to do is look at the fact that 60% of young black should be employable youth are not employed now.
But I can say that about white communities across this country too. So to me, this issue isn't just about black and white. It's also about poverty. It's also about poor people. And let me talk about wealth and finances here, because the average white family in this country has a wealth of about $142,000 in assets. The average black family, median wealth, about $11,000, and that's because a lot of people's wealth. And that's a lot.
Obama and Hillary have had
No, actually, but that's going to change in 8 years. That's not just going to change in 8 years, and that started prior to 2008.
There's work to be done on both
there
sides.
Is.
We'll agree on that.
Gina and Basil.
4 years. Trump says 4 years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deirdre.
My next guest says mainstream media